And we are live. How's it going, Matt?
It's going good, Jeremy. How are you?
Good, good, good. I have a Matt in a box next to me. So thank you so much for doing this. Suddenly, we anticipated that we'd be streaming later in the day on Fridays because of Chris's work schedule. And today it was just became impossible. So yeah, taking advantage of avoiding the hot weather, I just decided we'll do this from home, and I'll see what Matt's up to. So thanks so much for being on.
No problem.
So I saw that you were soliciting online on a hostile social media platform about another platform that people should move to. So what's Threads all about? Have you had much experience with it?
Well, it's only been around for like 2 days,
Well, there
so
we go. It's at least 48 hours.
yeah. I heard I haven't verified this, but I heard they're already up to 50 million users
Wow.
in 2 days, and I think Twitter's U.S. is 60 million, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hilarious. It's basically Mark Zuckerberg's little surprise fuck you to Elon
Hmm.
for not fighting him
Oh,
in
right, right.
the stupid ring fight that we're gonna have.
Wow.
No, but it's cool. It's Twitter
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
It's missing some features, right?
Hmm.
Which I assume they're gonna roll out. I assume.
Right.
So right now it's just this constant algorithmic feed,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll give you the people you follow more often,
Hmm.
but
Oh.
it's not like Twitter where you can just look at the people you follow.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're gonna get a lot of random that the
Hmm.
algorithm is trying to figure you out through.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've been blocking a lot of people. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've already blocked. Oh, something about OnlyFans. Okay, block. You know,
Right. Right. Yeah. That.
and
Yeah. Hmm.
but it is neat. It is kind of cool in one way that like people are out there looking for
Hmm.
people they share interests with.
Right.
You
Right.
know, because it's like starting over for all the Twitter addicts. So it's kind of like, oh, I gotta find. For me, it was TTRPG stuff
Right.
and some art stuff and some reading book stuff,
Hmm.
film stuff. So it's kind of nice because it's kind of like everyone's being pretty cool right now, and
Right. Yeah.
everyone's trying to find their own
Yeah. Mm.
people. So it's like, oh, you see these threads constantly like, where are my Dungeons and Dragons people at? And they're
Hmm.
looking for people to follow and stuff like that, which is something that Twitter would just disappear on Twitter
Yeah. Yeah.
nowadays. But it's like we're starting over. It's
Hmm.
kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I. It doesn't sound very promising though. If Facebook or I guess Meta is going to use that algorithm bullshit because they that's what's kind of ruined their platform. Like people that originally were using Facebook, especially to contact customers for a local business or whatever, Facebook kind of separated you from your followers and then made you pay to get access to them. Boost your post if you'd like
Mhm.
to actually talk to people that are trying to talk to you. So if that's going to be the maybe the flaw if they try to apply this same sort of thinking, it's not going to be Twitter, and yeah, people might get dissatisfied.
Yeah, if they wanted to have legs, they're gonna have to work in that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and they need to be okay with it. They can still stick in their stupid advertisements,
Hmm. Right. Right.
but let you see the people you follow or the people that follow you. Give them the priority in your feed.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, no one can figure out if like hashtags work,
Oh. Right.
right? It's like some people think if you put things in all caps, it's like a hashtag.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people are still using hashtags. I did at first, but
Hmm.
there's no evidence that any of that is really working.
Right.
And that is a cool feature on
Mhm.
Twitter, I have to admit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is you can look at the trending,
Hmm.
and you can say, oh, there's a hashtag about whatever.
Yeah.
Games Workshop and click that, and
Mm-hmm.
then now you're looking at relevant stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think if they want legs, they're gonna have to adopt something similar to that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they're already being sued by butthurt Elon, so might as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious how much of like how Twitter works is proprietary, or it's something that they could, enforce or patent, because it's, it's different from like, rules for a TTRPG or whatever. It may be something that they can actually say this is ours. But the funny thing about Twitter is they didn't invent any of that. Their users did. They basically
Exactly.
they basically made an SNS bulletin board, and then their users said, and we want hashtags, and we want retweets, and we want to. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, there might be some weakness there if they haven't like legally sewed all that up, because, yeah.
Speaking of sewing up, I guess part of what they're threatening to sue about is the term threads.
Oh, wow.
Because with the word count or the character count limit on Twitter, obviously people make these threads
Hmm,
to
hmm.
make longer posts,
Right.
and but that's not a Twitter thing. That's something the users did, kind of
Hmm.
like what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't think I don't think he's gonna be able to accomplish anything
yeah.
like legal wise.
Right.
Plus, I think Facebook technically does hashtags too, or they used to.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, why didn't they sue them before?
Yeah, that's true.
They don't have the grounds for anything. I don't
Yeah.
think.
And Instagram is very heavy hashtag. Yeah, that's very
Hmm.
hashtag based. Yeah, so it's weird though that there's the same company is going to own Facebook, Instagram, and now Threads. Those are just like variations on the same thing. So yeah, very odd.
Yeah, it's pick your poison, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's still a super antisocial, evil billionaire guy. So, but he's at least like he doesn't on the face of it seem politically motivated, right?
Hmm.
Elon just out the gate is
Mm-hmm.
done craziness on Twitter. And so, I think just by the fact that Zuckerberg kind of hangs back and is a weirdo billionaire but doesn't force it on people,
Hmm.
is gives him a huge advantage.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I hope. I saw something that said you may be able to stream to Threads eventually. Like that might be something just like you can with Twitter. So yeah, hopefully it'll help us. It'll be a nice platform for tabletop communities and stuff, and we can kind of reestablish things and then
Hey,
not have to worry. Yeah.
if you open up a page on there, I'll be happy to be your social media manager over
Oh,
there.
excellent. All right. Well, I'll take you up on that. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, it's worth, and I like what you said too. Like this is early days, so everyone's kind of feeling it out, and that's a nice time in just about any kind of technology before it kind
Yeah,
of gets solidified and the factions form and the war starts.
yeah.
So that's cool. Excellent. All right. Oh, and you said you also mentioned you're going to be playing the One Ring. You're gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
A buddy of mine is gonna. He wants to run the One Ring, and it's the Free League version
Hmm.
of the One Ring. Let me say this right.
Yes.
Not their new 5e Lord of the Rings game.
Right. Right.
The previous game, the One Ring, which is a very different system.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. We're all going to just be hobbits,
Hmm.
and
Good.
he's already warning some of the people like, yeah, you're not going to be fighting orcs or nothing. Like you're
Right.
probably going to just be hiding from things, and like,
Right.
which I'm totally cool with. But
Hmm.
some people really want to get their murder hobo on. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So that's good though that he's kind of trying to control expectations at the table so people don't just blow the session up. Yeah.
hmm
That's good. Yeah, it seems like a decent system, and I think the original creators were involved with it to kind of make the Free League version close to the feel of it. So yeah, that's good.
yeah,
Very cool. All right. Well, you have to let us know how that went, because I'm curious about running that myself. So yeah, it would be fun to do. Got lots of books.
oh, do you have all the stuff for it?
Yeah, yeah.
All right on.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's real, and of course because it's Free League, the production quality is just beautiful. The artwork is beautiful. They've got the Martin Grip, very moody, kind of painted,
Oh yeah, beautiful.
vistas and stuff. Yeah, really nice. And I like that his his style for that worked really well because it's kind of a different take that you've seen on kind of depicting Tolkien. It's not bright and sunny, and it's not too grim dark. It has a nice like weird kind of bleakness to it.
Kind of like old, right?
Hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I've been intimidated by. I didn't buy any of it
Hmm.
because, I mean, my preference is usually just to use a system to play an original thing,
Right.
right? I'm not super good imbuing pre-made material. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I don't know. It's a weakness or an insecurity of mine, I guess. So the One Ring really intimidated me because I was like, oh man, you have to capture.
Mm.
There's a feel to Tolkien,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mean, like you gotta have be on point with that, and I chickened out. I'm intimidated by that
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. I felt the same thing about Star Trek Adventures. It's just like
one.
I'm gonna run this, and there's gonna be people that are gonna be correcting every other sentence. But like, actually, it's like, oh,
Oh,
I've got to delete
yeah,
that word from the session. You can't start a sentence with actually during.
yeah. Yep.
But
Push the glasses down. Well, actually,
the Romulans had not made. Okay, okay. Yeah. Well, good, good. All right. Well, let's get started for this week. So,
all right.
just an odd little selection of topics, and there was an update, kind of a last minute update to the last thing, because you know that we are still in the midst of the Gloomhaven Grand Festival. So
No.
yeah, so I hope you're still sewing your costume. You have 2 weeks left. They've had I think they just hit 3 million. So their goal was
Oh,
2 million, which is pretty high.
the goal was two
The goal
million.
was 2 million. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh,
So they hit
that
that.
feels like hubris. I don't know.
Yes, and we'll see how they do, because I think they said, what was it, 7 million? The Avatar, the Airbender
Mm.
TTRPG, that was the biggest total. So we'll see how close they get. But they're offering so much stuff. It's you could see why that total's so high, because you can really get buried in pledges. And this is also backer kit, so it's they're going to keep much more of those funds, and so that's a nice thing. If this campaign goes well, it's going to be even more, that much more, like 7% or whatever, more successful for them. All right, so let's do this. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt. And
Hello.
this week on the weekly, so Call of Duty Kickstarter for their board game. We'll find out why they're doing that. The final ORC license has been released and filed with the Library of Congress. Pendragon Starter Set from Chaosium, and Buttons and Bugs. So we'll check in with the Grand Festival for Gloomhaven. So let's get started with the Call of Duty board game. So this was a little bit odd. This is I avoid or just kind of skip over a lot of these licensed IP board games that are mostly video games. There's a lot of
Mm.
video game adaptions, but this one stood out because they immediately in this interview said, Call of Duty is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Just Modern Warfare alone grossed over like $2 billion for Activision. I guess it's Microsoft now, Activision Microsoft, but it's a crazy successful franchise as far as video games. So if you're going to license this, why are you taking it to a crowdfunding platform? You're going to give Kickstarter 10% of the millions you're going to generate, and what's the thinking? So the company is Arcane Wonders. So Arcane
Mm.
Wonders is who's going to produce this. They previously have done Mage Wars Arena and Mage Wars Academy are their previous games. And when asking the president, Robert Geislinger, why would you need to do this? This is not an IP that needs you need to test the waters for. It definitely has a built-in audience. And he said the short answer is that Activision is not making this board game. So we're paying Activision for the rights to use Call of Duty in this board game, and we and bluntly, we've already paid a lot for that privilege. So there's a big upfront that they're trying to make sure doesn't kill their kill their studio, I think. So at the end of the day, we're third-party licensees. It's pretty standard. We saw that with Apex Legends, and now we've seen it with Elder Scrolls. So we're in the board game world, and most of us are small companies. So when you're looking at a something like the Call of Duty IP, the game might sell 10,000 copies. The game might sell 100,000 copies, but we don't know what it's going to sell, so it's hard for us to even gauge that upfront without doing something like a Kickstarter. So yeah, basically saying Activision is not involved, and the thing that they stress as well is they want the game to represent Call of Duty, but at the end of the day, Arcane Wonders is making this game, themselves. They're the one making the game, and for a project of this scope, for us to make a game at that level, we want to make it at, we really need to go to Kickstarter, and basically what they're saying is. We're getting no input from Activision. Like, this license gives us total creative freedom. We don't have to, every single illustration, every single mechanic doesn't have to be run by them. There's not going to be an approval process because of the terms of the license. They're only getting some help, they said, with graphics. So they're getting, graphical support, maybe things that have already been produced for the franchise. So that's why. So they're having to pay a big price up front. They can't for sure say what it's going to sell. And because they've already sunken so much into this project and want the creative freedom, they're paying the big price. So what do you think? Is that a valid argument?
It is. And it's, wow, refreshing bit of honesty.
Yeah.
From a game company. Like,
that's true.
Props to Arcane Wonders. I mean, they're not a huge company. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they got eaten by Asmodee or Embracer.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
They had a big splash with Mage Wars originally, and I played that actually quite a bit back in the day. But they haven't pumped. They don't like pump out titles, so they're not huge, and that's extremely cool that they're being honest about that.
Right.
And if the license is what they're saying, that they basically can do what they want to do, that impresses me. Like, I'm really?
Yeah.
Activision's not exactly known as a very benevolent corporation.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Like, true. So that's pretty cool. Maybe they just don't care because it's board game,
right?
So
it's
a little off the radar.
Yeah. So they mentioned that this is going to give Arcane Wonders the kind of complete financial control over the project, and I think that's probably when you're dealing with revisions and approvals for a license, that's where production time and bloat can happen. Because if you need to do revisions, just because some executive said, I don't like this blue line on the uniform, so can you remove that in all the artwork? That kind of stuff can run up your costs, run up your production costs, and kind of affect your scheduling. So having that total final say and financial control will be interesting. So I'm curious to see. And then they also mechanically can make a game that they think represents that play style. What a first person shooter or what a tactical, like a squad based tactical board game could be like. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. So they're going to do a collector's edition, of course, and there'll be bundles for the base game. And it's going to be, the board game is going to be coming to market next year. And let's see if they gave us a date on the crowdfunding. I don't think there's a firm date on the crowdfunding yet, but it's coming. It's on the way.
Is it, what's the format? Like, is it just squad v squad kind of thing, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're gonna. Well, because depending on the the time period and the type of game, I think they've gone to like smaller, like 5-man squads, or do like bigger. Call of Duty has like a huge range. So they don't mention exactly what their approach is going to be and how they're theming it, like what they're going to actually be calling it. It's just Call of Duty the board game. So we don't know if that's World War II. We don't know if that's Modern Warfare. So we'll have to see. So Yeah, interesting. So now we know. Now we know why you would take a big license like that to Kickstarter, and also, we've also heard why you can't take certain licenses. Alchemy, the VTT, specifically said there were some licenses that Free League had that were forbidden for being taken to Kickstarter. So I think the Blade Runner, or no, not Blade Runner. What was one of the licenses that Free League had that said it couldn't be included in their Kickstarter offered as content because of the license with Free League.
That's so weird because then Free League themselves kickstarted Blade Runner,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it was maybe it was Alien then. So it was the one that didn't get kickstarted. So I think that was Alien
Mm.
that didn't. Yeah, the one that went straight to retail. So they couldn't offer that content in their Kickstarter because I guess the license specifically says, don't put us on crowdfunding.
I bet that, I believe what they said about why they're kickstarting. I
Mhm.
bet Activision charged them a bundle
Yes. Yeah.
for that
Definitely.
for that license.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, because even those games, like there's not one studio producing those games. Those games are so big and the production values are pretty high. They have to have multiple studios actually,
Mm.
working under Activision to
I wonder
finish
if
those games.
they'll have a battle royale version of it with
Hmm.
I can't remember what's the Call of Duty battle royale called. I'm blanking right now. Anyway,
Yeah.
very popular.
Yes, yes. That's, you mean like Apex, Apex Legends is battle royale, and yeah, a lot of the stuff. Yeah, a lot of. I'm not sure
No,
what they've
no, I
done.
mean more like the Fortnite model
Oh
where
yeah.
it's everyone trying to stay alive and the map's getting smaller.
Hmm. Hmm.
'Cause isn't Apex more like Overwatch, like
No, no.
team on team?
Well, it's team. Yeah, it's team based, but they do have. It is the battle royale with teams because it does have the kind of constricting. They did an interesting job with that mechanically. You have these little corners, and every so many turns they constrict, so your battlefield does shrink down. But yeah,
Oh,
Apex is team, but most of the there is every man for themselves, but there are also like 2v2, 3v3 in
uh,
battle royale.
I never played Apex. I thought it. I just whenever it was explained to me, people explained to me more like Overwatch. So I just thought in those terms.
Yeah,
But
well, in the way that it's like it's a more like a hero shooter in the way that the each of the characters is very distinct, like their
mm,
tactics and their abilities are very distinct. Yeah, the board game version of that was pretty impressive. Nick, the who's Zombie Sashimi on Twitch, mini painter, asked me to join a tabletop simulator version of that when they were beta testing it. And
mm,
during the Kickstarter, they were beta testing and they were doing like live rules changes. So you had to like update the rules almost every other day before you're playing it because they're editing card text and everything. So they really did take advantage of playtesting during their campaign to finalize rules and kind of get the final balance on things. So
that's cool.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. And that's a very new thing that I think has opened up. The Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator do allow these companies to put digital assets online. Say, here's the rule book in a PDF. Here's digital versions of all the pieces, and go ahead and try the game. And they don't have to ship out a bunch of prototype copies with stickers and very temporary artwork and stuff. They can basically do digital assets, and you can get a feel of the game before you put any money on it. So yeah, that's changed things a lot, I think. So we'll see if they end up doing that themselves. I'm not sure what, because that's a lot of work. Also, you need a lot of tech support to handle something like that. So we'll see what Arcane Wonders does in those terms. So can you feel it? Can you feel the era of the OGL is over and the era of the orc has risen? So the Open Game RPG Creative License, that was a response to Wizards of the Coast's abandoned attempt to update their OGL, is now in the final version has been released. So things like Chaosium's basic roleplay universal game engine, Mythmir's games Swords and Wizardry, and Martin Muckraker's titles like Under a Hostile Sun will all use the orc. So the Paizo announcement says the license is a system-agnostic, perpetual, and irrevocable open game license that provides a legal safe harbor for sharing rules, mechanics, so as to encourage collaboration and innovation in the tabletop space. As much commentary and after much commentary and iteration, the ORC license and accompanying acts, the answers and explanation document, are now final and ready to be used by game publishers large and small. So this was handled by Azura Law, and it's kind of a third party. But it's interesting, though, they were promoting them kind of as a neutral third party, but we'll find out they're not as neutral as you may think. And they also filed it with the United States Library of Congress. So it is out there. So they had a question and answer session recently, or that they will. Yeah, Gen Con hasn't happened yet, or yeah. Gen Con, my dates are all screwed up. So at Gen Con, on Saturday, yeah, there will be an ORC license question and answer session. So it's a free to attend event, and they'll have the people speaking there will be Jeff Richard, Chaosium chair and founder, Marcus Plotz, the Ulysses Spiel owner and chair, Eric Mona, Paizo creative chief, Wolfgang Bauer, the Kobold Press founder and chair, and Brian E. Lewis, a Azura Law partner and Gen Con co-owner. So he worked on the legal architecture of the OGL, but yeah, so he is a founder. So yeah, I guess it's not a totally impartial law firm that they chose. They chose the owner of Gen Con to shepherd the license. So I'm not sure what effect that's necessarily going to have, but good luck getting your new 5e games into Gen Con. Yeah. So
Wow.
I wonder what that's gonna mean. But yeah, so it's out and it is a thing. So I'll put links to the final PDFs for both the ORC and the Axe, and then people are asking in the comments for this Paizo announcement if there's going to be a live stream or a video recording of this question and answer session that's going to be held at Gen Con. So we'll find out if that comes to pass or not.
I hope so, because nothing puts me to sleep faster than reading like technical
Yes.
documents.
Right,
Like, oh
right.
my god.
Yeah, the legalese of the ORC. Yes.
I want a list of who signed Wizards. What did they change it to? SGL.
Oh yeah.
I want to know who signed that.
Yes.
I bet those people don't want you to know that they signed that.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Just protecting their money. Yeah.
so I've asked this question before, so I apologize, but I'm still having trouble understanding what the benefit of this OGL is that embraces vastly different game systems.
Right.
I know the general wisdom is you don't copyright systems, but then what is the benefit of a BRP type game sharing its like legal biosphere with an old school D&D type game?
Right.
Like I don't. What is the benefit? I guess is. What I'm
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah. From the little bit that I've read on it, it does just seem like they're trying to, without one company kind of having the monopoly over it and basically pushing their system, they want to give that legal assurance that if you use these mechanics, no one's going to come after you. And I guess you can also offer things. You can decide like what's part of this. So things that you've come up with for your original world or setting or monsters or whatever could be offered under this license as well. So it kind of gives people, developers, an option to share into this. But like Chris constantly is arguing, like how is this much different from the Creative Commons licensing? Like you have to be very detailed. You have to do more of the work yourself if you're going to do Creative Commons, because you have to spell everything out and write everything out yourself. You basically have to make your own license and then put it under Creative Commons. And I guess this is going to be a more community, like if they're considering all the non Wizards of the Coast tier publishers are involved in this is going to be a way that they can share creatively what they're doing. But Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it gets. I mean, because they're calling it, safe harbor, and a irrevocable forever license. But you're right. It is going to be this huge, range of system types and things that may not. You won't be picking and choosing from various mechanics to make a system. You're basically going to have yeah. So I'm sure the X will answer some of these questions, but yeah, it's I think it's just a response. It's just like circling the wagons against Wizards of the Coast, but
Right.
yeah, it may not be it may not function in much of a different way than Creative Commons. So yeah, and
If I
yeah.
I know this is something I should wait and see what they say, but
Hmm.
if if I produce a game product under this orc, right?
Hmm.
Does that then make my game product fair game for other people to borrow from under the orc?
Mm.
If you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think as long as they're you know printing the text of that orc license, and then I guess whatever, because that's the thing that they have to do is with this license, you're not going to be giving away all of your, like, character names and world building and everything under this orc, but so I guess that you will be determining what is and what isn't available to people. But yeah, I guess people will then be able to kind of iterate on what you did, and yeah. Mm.
is it gonna have that weird character? It's not gonna have that. I assume it's not gonna have that weird character creation clause that Wizards attempted, where your OGL product couldn't have character creation. You had to tell them
Oh.
to you go use the player's handbook.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna, how they're gonna, if they're separating that out as well as something that may have been. Yeah, I wonder what the thinking was, and if they're gonna do something, because with so many different systems, it'd be difficult to not include character creation.
'Cause I'm struggling.
Hmm.
I get it. I get it's a response to Wizard shenanigans. I
Hmm.
totally get it. I get it. I just don't understand long term what it accomplishes.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it feels more like almost more like joining a new RPGA association or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Like it's more like a friend zone than a mechanical benefit.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and I wonder if it is just something that is going to protect, what people have done with 3.5, under the previous OGL and like the iterations on that, so that things like Pathfinder Second Edition are untouchable, by Wizards. They can never contest, anything that was accomplished with that. So yeah, it's interesting, and things like basic role play and Pathfinder being under this. I mean, those aren't new systems, so they have quite a bit of history. So it's funny that they're going to have a new license. These systems that have been around are going to be under a new license. So yeah, we'll see, and we'll see what people start to kind of find out. May be the problem with this, because it'll come up. I'm sure the community will bring raise these issues very immediately, probably at Gen Con. So we'll
Mhm.
see, and they'll just take away your badge and they'll escort you out if you ask anything too difficult for them to answer.
Oh man, and it's a free event. Oh, you couldn't pay me to stand in that line.
Right,
Oh,
right. Yes, yes. All right, a starter set that was just announced looks fun, and it's nice that we're actually seeing a new version of this game. So Pendragon, the Pendragon Starter Set is due out June 29th. Oh no, it is out. Sorry,
mhm.
yeah, so it is out. It just came out, so it's been out for about a week, and that's right. The release date was June 29th. So there was a little bit of an interview with one of the line editor, Dave Larkins, and he answered some questions about what you can and can't expect and what this starter set is all about. And if you've had any experience with the previous Chaosium starter sets, both RuneQuest and Call of Cthulhu have really good, are really well done. They offer like a solo adventure for the game master to kind of get acquainted with the system and see and get the kind of feel of the game. So that's going to be true of Pendragon as well. So of course Pendragon is built around the legends of the world of King Arthur. So Larkins is saying a world full of adventure, danger, and deadly peril, and mystery, populated with larger-than-life characters. So in the starter set, you're going to get 3 books, a tutorial adventure, the rule book, and then a short campaign for 3 linked scenarios, in addition to several appendices to teach specific rules or aspects of the setting. And then there'll be a set of cards for use with the battle system and a set of dice. And unlike, even though the stats and a lot of the mechanics play like basic role play, you're actually rolling d20s. And so from the original system, it's a d20 system with d6s for other rolls. There'll be 8 pre-generated characters with kind of their special, gatefold character sheets. So you can play right out of the box. And so this may be, we were talking a little bit before the cast about settings that are a little bit intimidating. So this may be one of those as well. You have to give the right feel, to an Arthurian, a game based on Arthurian legend where everyone's playing knights. And if that isn't your culture, it may be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, and it's not just knights, it's that really romantic chivalric kind of image of knights. I played this game briefly, I want to say in the late 80s. And the things that stuck with me were how you would either be a Christian knight or a pagan knight. And then they had this row. I assume they're going to probably still have this because it was really cool. This row of sort of I don't know, characteristics or personality modes, and you would rate them, and some were the more what you would expect from a pagan knight, and some were what you would expect from a Christian knight, you know. And that was a really neat, feel. We were too young at the time to appreciate it, but reflecting back on it now, it's like that's really cool. So like, I'm just throwing one out here, but I think there was one like along the lines of lustful, so obviously if you're a pagan knight, you're gonna be higher in that, and lower in chaste or whatever. And and as I recall, this could be wrong or it might be changed now, it was sort of a balance, right? So you'd sort of have two poles of a emotion or a sensibility, and one side you would probably have high, and one side you'd probably have low. But exactly. I was thinking that too. What you said when we were talking about the One Ring before the show started, it's like, you got to have the right group and really buy into the feel of the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I also wonder if there will be pushback, or if there's any like reworking of the game world that they've done, because it was a classic, romantic chivalric thing. So obviously it was, very male character focused. I think they built some exceptions into that, but I wonder if they're going to even swing that more the other way now. Just because of the world we live in now, is different, and and
what the players you have at the table and what they want to do. I did see a a short discussion on a live stream that Chaosium did previous to the release of this, and they did say there are female knights now in this setting, and they're also doing things like foreign knights. So foreign knights can be Saxon knights or Greek knights. So there will be, from Constantinople. There are, and they kind of give you the feel for that in these pre-generated characters that are offered in the starter set. So character creation is probably a bit different than from the original system. And yeah, that what you said about those kind of like those natures or leanings that the character has that have a balance. That's very similar to how the runes work in RuneQuest, where you some things can be powered by life or death, but if you level up your death, then you lose something in life. So it's a balance. It's like a spectrum that you remove things from one side to gain on the other. So it may work very much like that. But I like the fact that informs role play, whereas in RuneQuest it informs kind of like your character's nature and what they're capable of doing, but they don't spell out like how that would affect their personality or how they look at the world quite as much as I think something like they may do in Pendragon. So your world outlook and how you what you worship and what you value will be spelled out in that way. Yeah, traits and passions. That's right, traits and passions.
There you go.
Yeah.
It needs to be. People have to suspend their disbelief a great deal with anything Arthurian because the timeline line doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Right, right.
The people run around plate mail with lances like 700 years before that was a thing. And,
right.
And talking about, I remember I'm pretty sure when we did play, I had a pagan Saxon knight and chivalry and pagan Saxons. Again, that's like at least 500 years separated.
Right.
600 years separated. So, yeah.
So definitely a fantasy, a fantasy setting. Right. Yeah.
So that means it should be okay with female knights.
Right.
And,
yeah. And hopefully we're not going to like female space marines. It's not going to bring up this schism, online that people are going to fight over. But yeah, it sounds like they did an interesting job in having a broader range. So yeah, they're calling it, so they said we wanted to present a wide range of characters typical to both of Arthurian tropes, but as well as to demonstrate the diversity of options within broad categories of knights. So we have the would-be chivalrous knights that takes his honor very seriously, a cynical jokester that finds that quite silly, a former maiden who has taken up her father's arms and armor. So they have a lot of ways to kind of lead you in. Country peasants that hope to earn knighthood. So giving you a wider range of how to approach characters. So yeah, it sounds like they're addressing that, and we'll see how effective that works in the world, and if that, for some people, that may break the game if they have very specific ideas about how this should be played. But the interesting thing that they're saying is the game is highly backwards compatible. So this version of the game will be completely backwards compatible to first edition because it's all Greg Stafford. So you can basically, if you say, I don't like this stuff that you're doing, you're over diversifying or whatever, you can just consult a previous PDF to get your grognard on.
One of the things about that game that I love to see in games is they emphasized the idea of generational characters. Have a lineage and a house, and they were one of the first to do anything like that, which is super cool. The Game of Thrones RPG actually had a neat system for that too, but you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they did it before. What was that TSR one? Birthright or whatever?
Yeah. So
yeah,
nice. Yeah, so it's coming out, and they're talking about the other books that they're going to be producing to support this, and the campaign, the Grey Knight campaign, is going to kind of dovetail nicely with the sword campaign, which is included in the this starter set, and then soon they're going to be offering the Companions of Arthur, the Knight's Handbook, Game Master's Handbook, and the Noble's Handbook. So there'll be a lot of supporting books. So yeah, Chaosium's going to be publishing a lot of books because there still aren't everything for RuneQuest isn't out yet, the latest edition, and I'm sure there's still more Call of Cthulhu to to come. So look forward to a lot of books coming out of Chaosium.
I love Chaosium. Like, I just finished that Game Wizards book, and I didn't realize it at the time, right? The time that all that crap was happening, like in the 80s, I didn't have the sense that, Chaosium was kind of this fairly successful sort of upstart company that TSR pissed on all the time. But they were, and like God bless them for chugging along and still cranking stuff out, and they do actual plays on their YouTube channel now and stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really watch that stuff, but it's cool that they're very active, I guess is what I'm trying to say. For a company that usually gets referred to as like a second tier company, they're pretty darn successful and they're very active.
Oh
Which
yeah.
is cool.
No, that's very good. Yes. The last kind of the parting comment that the David from Chaosium said is he's a little bit envious of people that will be discovering Pendragon with this release. So the first time Chaosium has launched a new edition of a game line with a starter set. So I guess all the starter sets, of course, RuneQuest and Call of Cthulhu, the starter sets came, decades after the game had been out. So this is a new version with a new starter set that may be your first taste of Pendragon because it hasn't been in print for a while. So
I wonder if we'll see this just occurred to me, sorry.
Yeah.
I wonder with this and Dragonbane, the way that system works, it's basically a BRP skill based but converted to 20-sided.
Right.
I wonder if we'll see like a momentum there.
Yeah.
Because all these companies, they got to do what they got to do to survive the wizard's beast. So maybe if we convert our skill-based percentile game to a skill-based 20-sided game,
yeah.
Maybe we'll get a few more people who don't know what those funny 10-sided dice are for.
Right. Yeah, that's true, and that's the thing that. So I guess they're going to be doing demos and things at Gen Con and upcoming conventions, and they said that yes, you can bring your lucky D20 and play Pendragon. So yeah, they're definitely trying to bring some people over that have maybe 5e as their only game experience.
I just got a 20-sided. Well, I just ordered a 20-sided. This is a stupid purchase. But the 20 side instead of a 20 it says fuck you, and instead of the one it says fuck me.
Nice.
It was stupid, but I was like, oh, I need one of those.
But it works for roll under or roll over because you can just switch the
Yeah, it's all how you look at it.
Nice. All right, and finally we're in the middle of this. Can you feel this? Like we're in the middle of something grand, like a grand festival or something. Yeah. So the Gloomhaven backer kit campaign for second edition Gloomhaven, the Gloomhaven RPG, a ton of supporting stuff that they previously produced for Frosthaven, a huge amount of miniatures, and now one more edition has been added. One more iteration of the game has now been added to this campaign. So Buttons and Bugs has been revealed as kind of a surprise addition to this campaign. So it has a very interesting origin, and as soon as I saw them announce this, I thought to myself, I hope they're not screwing over this tiny game developer that loves doing micro games. And very fortunately, because this is Cephalofair and it's Isaac Childress, these are I think good guys. Their success might run away. Their runaway success might be a little bit of a difficulty, like ego wise eventually. But it seems like they're still pretty down to earth and looking for collaboration and really liking what people do. Kind of like reimagining or rethinking their games. So Buttons and Bugs is a micro version of Gloomhaven, and not only physically, so the box is a Gloomhaven game that weighs only about a pound, so that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Because they're in the 20 to 30 range usually. So this
Hmm.
this game is designed for missions that can be played in less than 20 minutes, so about a half-hour lunch break, and in a very small form factor. So it's taking all the mechanics and the feel of Gloomhaven and miniaturizing it, but not only the game components themselves, but the gimmick of the game is that your character has been miniaturized by some sort of spell, so that the enemies and things you're going to be facing are going to literally be buttons and bugs because you are miniaturized, and the threats in the world are now on a totally different scale. So the it's being offered during this backer kit campaign for only $15. So it's very, very reasonably priced. It'll be $20 thereafter, and probably with online retail that'll come down as well. So it's a solo strategic experience in a tiny box, and basically, where did this idea come from? Why would they think to do something like this? There is a game designer called Joe Klipfel that his YouTube is very interesting because all of his games are played in cards you can hold in your hand. So basically, he takes, like, poker size, like regular playing card size cards, and he designs a game so that it can be held in your hand, and you can hold your thumb as a placeholder for some stat, and you'd rotate a card, and it has another set of tracking on it, and you're flipping through. So a game, a full board game that can be played in a kind of a hand of cards, and the way that he manipulates them is really clever. So he created Gloomholden. So Gloomholden won an award for its design, and it's basically Gloomhaven on 18 cards. So you can,
Wow.
have the experience of a Gloomhaven mission, holding these 18 cards in your hand and tracking everything. And if you watch the videos, it's amazing, like how he's come up with this. This way of thinking about mechanics and the way of like tracking things that a board game would usually be responsible for, but you can just do it based on the orientation of cards in your hand, the order of the cards in what you're holding. It's pretty amazing. So so both the original designer of Gloomholden, Joe Klipfel, and Nikki Valens. Nikki Valens has worked on Mountains of Madness 2 and Artisans of the Splendid Veil. So they're going to collaborate to flesh this, or I guess they have already collaborated to flesh this all out. And so what originally happened is when he released his 18-card game, the Gloomhaven community got very excited about this, and so that brought it to the attention of the creators. And so instead of just licensing the game from him and just releasing it in that version, they wanted to give it a more thematic experience and have it kind of fit into their world a little bit, instead of just being kind of a fan iteration and a simulation of their game. They decided to give it a gimmick of miniaturization and have it be a solo play card game. It does have quite a few components, but still doesn't take up a lot of table space. And I do believe, I'll have to look in the components. Yes, the only rule that they seem to have broken, which may have been inevitable, because you can't make a tiny bag with tiny tokens in it. So instead of drawing tokens from a little miniaturized bag, there is a die. So there is a die involved in this, in a game that is previously known for being all card based.
No dice.
Yes, right. So the components are, for Buttons and Bugs, 100 cards, 6 micro mercenary miniatures. So there are literally miniatures in the game, probably like 6 millimeter miniatures.
Any excuse to make more miniatures.
Right. 6 dual layer trays that are used for tracking stats on everything. 21 tokens, 10 cubes that actually work in the hexes as enemies. 1 die and 1 hit point dial. So it's pretty elaborate. There's a lot of tracking. Like, you can't hold this game in one hand, but it does, I think, more closely simulate all of the mechanics that happen in the full Gloomhaven game. So yeah, so they were asked, why not simply license Gloomhaven and publish this during the campaign? And they said they wanted to, kind of change the graphic design and make it more in line with what they've already produced. And Gloomhaven had only one character to play, and in this version, they wanted to include all of, a good array, not everything, but a good range of their character classes and types, so their ancestries and classes that are involved in the game. So to make it a little bit more closer to a representation of that game. And yeah, so it's a very interesting project. So they are doing a kind of a graphical refresh, and they hired a graphic artist to specifically work on this game. So this game will match Gloomhaven, but maybe have a little bit more of its own look, and probably a little bit more playful, a little more whimsical because of the miniaturized setting, And let's see, the and the other thing that they wanted to improve in is the game Gloomhaven. The monsters and things were basically stationary, and so you didn't have the strategy and kind of tactical movement of that what Gloomhaven is known for. So they wanted to recreate that on a smaller scale. So yeah, it's interesting, really, really interesting approach. And so there was just an update. So they just posted. Talking a little bit more about buttons and bugs, because they did a quick announcement and included this in their campaign. And so originally Gloomhaven, the 18 card version, won the Golden Geek Best Print and Play game. So it's been available since its creation as just a print and play. There's been no published release or anything, but I think it was very quickly done once it was discovered by the community, probably done with the blessing of Cephalofair, because it was so ingenious. And this game designer has done this with several. I think has iterated these mechanics and kind of applied them to several different game systems and types of settings. So the so they just kind of went over all of the components and what you're basically getting. So there are Euro mini cards in the game. So I guess, all of the cards are going to be, they're two-sided, so that makes it a little bit more, that doubles the amount of cards you basically have, because there's no backs to the cards. It's whatever side is facing. And they're Euro mini cards, so they're that almost, not quite like a half-size playing card side. And then, yes.
They like those little fantasy flight
Yes.
cards,
Right, the
that
equipment.
they always put in their board games for some reason.
Yes, that size.
I hate those.
So it's tiny. You got to find tiny little sleeves for your tiny little cards. But so there's dashboards and everything for tracking everything, and it looks good. It looks like Gloomhaven. The funny thing is, it just looks like a tiny version of Gloomhaven on the board. And if this design was executed well, that is a pretty amazing thing. A 20-minute, because Gloomhaven encounters can run pretty long, because there's a lot of you can get all bogged down in your strategies and everything, and depending on how many players there are, it can be pretty drawn out. So if they do actually have this down to kind of and it'll be a little bit more, since it's a single player, it's a solo with different scenarios. It will be more of a problem solving. It'll be like, how can I use these abilities to get past this door? So yeah, it sounds like a fun approach, and it's surprising that they're not just enforcing, and they've always kind of done this. They've always tried to have, because Gloomhaven is an intimidating game just in its size and the length of it. They've had ways to try to onboard people with smaller, things that were set in the world or were a little bit of a simulation of what Gloomhaven was trying to do. And this is that, almost to the extreme, because if you can get this game for $15 and play it and say, hey, I kind of like this. This would be really cool to play with a group of people and run through this 100 scenario campaign, then they've got you.
Yeah, you had a friend who he invested heavily in Gloomhaven.
Mm-hmm.
I might end up having to get this once it's retail available for him, because Gloomhaven it's become like a thing, right? It's like its own thing. It's part of the gaming universe, but it's its own thing, kind of like kind of like Warhammer is and D&D are. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could very easily just live in that game and not participate in other parts of the hobby.
Yeah.
Like it's that big now.
Right. Right.
I like Gloomholden's a great name,
Mm-hmm.
and since they had to make it more like Gloomhaven, I understand why they didn't go with that name. Um, but Buttons and Bugs, like it should have been
Mm.
it should have been Honey I Shrunk the Adventurers, or
Right. Right.
something like that.
Right.
But yeah, but it's cool. I'm glad that they're doing lighter, less serious
Mhm.
stuff. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It may be, and depending on what the illustration and everything looks like, the art direction on it, it may appear to be a little bit more of a kid's version or something. So that may be keeping, if people see it on a shelf, that may on a shelf in a hobby shop, that may keep them away from it. But yeah, it's a funny iteration on things, and I think you're right. They have created this kind of ecosystem that you can, now that there's Frosthaven, and that has the mechanics and everything are a little bit different from that. You're not negotiating this city. You're like trying to support this the survival of this encampment of people in this like frozen wasteland. They're already kind of giving you different looks at this world and how you can run things in it. And now that there's an RPG, they're going to be fleshing out a lot more. They're going to have to explain their various monsters and various things on the map now have to be more explained if you're going to play them as an RPG. So
Are
yeah,
they in the orc?
yeah, right. Oh no, are they? We'll
Probably
find
not.
out.
Probably not.
Yes, and so this is a really interesting campaign. They kind of threw everything out there. So they're doing like 700 miniatures, a new edition of their original game that can't, it's not an update. It's actually like a total revision, total reworking, a 2E basically of their original game. So it's an interesting decision, and like I think we mentioned, it's up to 3 million. Their goal was 2 million. It's up to 3 million, and they're halfway through their 30 days. So yeah, we'll see if they can double that or where they're actually going to be
They're
at.
not. So they're not catching that Avatar game.
Yeah, yeah, that's got a very rabid fan base. So yeah, I think that's
But
true.
in
Yeah.
in the RPG sphere, though, do you ever hear about that game? I never hear about
No,
that game.
no, yeah, yeah.
So like, it made its money and it's out.
I know, yeah, yeah. That's a shame because if they don't support that game, yeah, all the people that bought in and all the people that were excited about it. But then again, if it's got rabid fans, maybe they're like, yeah, whatever. We don't need your we don't need your written stuff. We're gonna do our own Avatar
hmm
world. We've been trying to bend air ourselves for so long, and now we have the mechanics to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
there probably are like the Avatar equivalent of the Star Wars fans, right? Doing the
mhm.
like we said earlier. Well, actually,
Right, right.
when Aang was on the glacier, he,
Hmm.
those people are out there. But anyway,
Yes, yes. Yeah, so we'll see how this grand festival proceeds. They don't stop. I mean, literally every day or every other day, there's an actual play. There's a how it's played. There's a panel. Like they're really, really heavily supporting this campaign and trying to give people as much information as possible. And the actual plays for the TTRPG have varied from incredibly polished voice actor casted annoying kind of convention based with multiple cameras to like basically Isaac with his D&D buddies from high school playing it together on just webcams. So it's really interesting that how they're trying to catch everybody in the kind of media they want to see things in, because some people like those instructional how it's played kind of videos. So all the board games are getting that treatment ahead of time, and it seems like they worked with a lot of creators, tabletop creators, and got them advanced copies and let them play, because someone even said, I have played through the entire campaign of this second edition and it's great. And I was like, okay, wow. So that they've gotten it out there and they've had people play testing it for a while now.
wow.
So yes, it's quite an operation they have going here. And one thing, so it keeps reminding me, watching the actual plays and how they have to keep referring to the board and keep counting squares and things, did make me think that I wonder if the people that, either never had access to 4E or liked 4E, but it never caught on. So it was kind of like, Wizards moved on from it a little more quickly than they would have otherwise. But a heavy tactical element in an RPG. So now that they have a Gloomhaven tabletop RPG, you have that. You literally have. You have to get behind them. You have to be You have to be exactly 15 feet or whatever away for this thing to work. And so that may be satisfying some people that liked 4E or liked that style of game and wish there was something. And now they have an original setting with interesting. I mean, you can see like inspiration from various things. There's character classes that are obviously like a rogue, but they're not they're not so straightforward. It's a mind thief. It's like a psychic rogue that can create illusions and also stab you in the back. So there's really interesting takes on this world. So it feels original enough that you don't see yourself. It doesn't seem like it's just another 5e kind of setting. Right. So we'll see what other surprises they have. They still have 2 more weeks to thrill us and get us to put our money down.
Yeah, Party City was out of the pennant, so I didn't put up any pennants or balloons. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I'll have my costume ready probably by the last week of the. Yeah, it's funny, and I think the only weakness that I've seen so far is there's not a lot of stuff that if you don't support this backer kit, you're going to miss out on. I mean, the pricing, I think, especially for living expats and people living in very inconvenient countries, they benefit from this by having the best possible shipping and the lowest possible price for the game if they support this. But all of this stuff is going to go to retail. They really, they have stuff out there. So everything that they're releasing will eventually get a retail release with, not the worst price. You're saving a bit, but not the worst price. So they haven't quite, I guess for the RPG, maybe that deluxe set that they're going to do with everything included in its fancy little box, maybe that is, campaign only. But other than that, I haven't seen anything that, won't be available after the fact. And that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing that, crowdfunding leans heavily on. So it's good that they're not, and also that means they're not going after Gloomhaven whales, where they're like exotic wood, hand carved, things that are going to make people put down thousands of dollars. Yeah. Just to play a board game. Yeah.
But that just supports my theory that they're so big now that, they can do, they don't have to do that silliness,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. But so we'll see how things progress. Yeah, so Buttons and Bugs. A tiny little game, a tiny little version of a gigantic board game. That's cool. But I thought the origin was particularly interesting.
That is cool.
Yeah. So, that's going to do it for this week. So,
wait.
Oh, wait. Oh.
Where's our Brink watch?
Oh, hey, let's get an update quickly. Yes. So Brink Watch 2023, day 167. So hashtag resign Kyle. So Kyle told 3 black halflings that he would be stepping away from the hobby because all white men should be doing this because they're boring and they've been here too long and we need fresh ideas and new blood. So step down, Kyle. So we'll see how long this persists. I think he's going to...
Part of the problem, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. Lead by example. Just walk away from the tabletop industry. Oh, man, that's brutal. Thank you for reminding me. All right, so where can people find you? Or is there something that you'd like people to check out?
Well, now you can find me on Threads.
Excellent.
It's still at Hargald, HAARGALD. Works on Twitter for now. Threads, Instagram. Threads. I'm strongly, if you're not on Twitter and you've always avoided Twitter, this is a pretty good time to get kind of a Twitter experience without as much hate and fire and
nice.
And threats. There's a really neat thing happening. I talked to Jeremy about this earlier, but people are searching out their communities on Threads because it is new. So the TTRPG people are looking actively for people to follow want to talk about that. Same for the war gamers and the painters and
Nice.
the YouTube gaming content people. Everyone's just sort of being cool and reaching out right now. So it's
Hmm.
probably the best possible time to get
Mm.
a Twitter experience without the crappy part of Twitter.
Right, right. Nice. Yeah, I'll put a link to your Threads account, and so people can find that. And yeah, if you want to talk tabletop, that was a good place to start. Yeah, because I saw on Twitter you kind of put out a call to some of your favorite
Mm,
personalities and publishers and things. So get on Threads. So yeah.
yeah, including you, sir.
Oh
No
yes,
pressure.
that's right. Yes, yes. So there will be an Upturn Table Threads account coming soon, and especially if we can stream to it, that would be great. If they get that going, just another place to catch the weekly.
Oh, and I'm printing my final proof copy of the session Forbidden Land Session Zero
Oh,
book
excellent. Oh, very good.
tomorrow.
Hmm.
So that should be going up hopefully on drive through by the
Oh,
weekend.
excellent. Very
Um,
good.
so for people listening, Jeremy did the art for that,
Hmm.
and the layout was driving me flipping nuts. But
Oh, yeah.
once I put in Jeremy's art, I felt so much better about the layout.
Oh, good, good.
I'm looking forward to getting that up. I mean, it's not a perfect system, but I think it's a fun idea,
Hmm.
and
Excellent.
it's going to be cheap. So you check it out.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we'll put a link to that. Definitely. Yeah, definitely check out Matt's, and you've got previous postings on drive through. So I'll just put a link to basically you on drive through. I think that'll be a good way to find everything because the Twilight
Cool.
2000, yeah,
So
Twilight
what's
2000.
going on in Jeremy's world?
Oh yes, so I'm still doing my single panel gag cartoon. So abuse cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. So you can watch me basically draw the cartoon, two every week, and it's a single panel gag cartoon, so like an image and a joke underneath. And I also eat various various odd things from Japanese convenience stores. So we talk a little bit of Japanese culture and travel and stuff here, and little culture shock kind of stuff. So that is abusecartoons.com, and then Abuse Cartoons on all social media. And if you want to support what we're doing here on the weekly, and actually we have a very important thank you. We finally have a weekling. So the weekling. So I tried to separate all of the tiers on the Patreon by what you want to suggest to be supporting, but basically it doesn't. That's not a very effective way to go about doing it. But we have our first we have our first weekling on Upturn Tables Patreon. So I'd like a big thank you. Where are we going here? Where are we going? Oh wait, I'm not logged in as a creator anymore. A big thank you to. I'm sorry I didn't have a graphic ready for this. Come on. Ah, sorry. I'm
We'll fix
really.
it in post.
Yes. Fix this in post. Fix it in post. That's why we shouldn't be doing this on live streams. But thank you to. I'm trying to get the name. Sorry. So our latest
If I
and
go to the Patreon app, will I see it? Or
no, it's not. Yeah, it's weird how I'm not getting a list of anything. Oh, here we go. Let's try notifications. There we go. So Silgo, thank you so much. I saw some comments. Silgo commented on a few of the actual plays that we have posted on the channel, and supported us on the Patreon as a weekling. So our first our first weekling level tier. So thank you, Silgo, and you deserve a graphic with confetti and fireworks and everything. But I appreciate the support very much. And if you'd like to become a weekling or support us on another level, patreon.com/upturntable. And that'll be a good way to get in touch with us, let us know what you want to see on the weekly. And as we get more and more evolved, it'll probably be the best way to see what we're doing as far as the raw stream for actual plays and things like that, as well as sharing what we're up to in all realms of Upturn Table. And currently, so we're kind of doing a Christmas in July back in last December, I read through all of In Lunacy, the first volume of the Mutant Chronicles trilogy of the Apostle of Insanity trilogy. So now we're in the middle of Frenzy, or we just started. We're in the third chapter of Frenzy. So we're doing kind of an audiobook presentation of Frenzy just so you can have some diesel punk to listen to before bed every night. So a chapter a night every night for all of July. But this book is a little short. There's only 20 chapters, so I think we'll finish it before the end of the month. Our gimmick last time was an advent calendar, so there was a chapter, every day before Christmas. But I figured let's get back to it and finish up this trilogy. So we'll do Frenzy in July, and then we'll do the third volume for next Christmas. And for some reason it's much more fun to read it at Christmas time because it's cold and you're drinking hot tea and you're snuggled in, and it's a little easier to do this stuff when you're sweating and the air conditioning is drying out your throat. It's a little harder to read. So I didn't do this as a live stream this time. It's actually I pre-recorded it so I could fix my my throat clearings and my mispronunciations. So it's a little cleaner. It's a little cleaner presentation. So check that out on Upturned Table on YouTube, and it'll stream on all of the platforms that it'll be posted to all the platforms. So there'll be a early Patreon version every night, and then YouTube, it'll get a premiere. Each chapter gets its little premiere. So join us there. And thank you for joining us. We'll do this again next week, and who knows, July might be a pretty rocky rocky schedule for Chris. So with or possibly without Chris, we'll see how it goes. But thank you, Matt, so much for filling in. It's great to have someone to discuss things with instead of just doing a monologue. So thank you so much, and we'll be back again next week. Goodbye. Bye. All right, so hang on for a second. We'll do a little 30-second countdown so I can take out some sound. There we go. All right. Well, thank you, Matt. That was great.
Yeah, no problem.
Fun stuff. Yeah. We're seeing this ever expanding Gloomhaven empire. So pretty soon, there we go. Oh, nice. Miguel and Abyss in the chat.
Yeah.
Let me blow this up a little bit. So anything that we missed here. Oh, so yeah, Miguel said no warning, so no notifications. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It has been really hit or miss with YouTube. Yeah.
I saw it come up on my Facebook and my Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, it's been pretty random, and I wonder. Oh no, it looks like we actually are on Twitch. That was so strange. Last week it didn't go out on Twitch at all. So apologies to anyone that was trying to watch this on Twitch, because it didn't exist last week for whatever reason. It wasn't restreamed anywhere. Oh no, yeah, Miguel was saying stream failed. So let's see.
Yeah, I think he meant just the notification.
Oh yeah, the stream. Okay.
Because I was watching my iPhone and I didn't see any pauses or anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very strange. Yeah, it looks like at least Restream saw it. So, and that's another weird thing that they're doing. I wonder if it's creating more problems. The way that we send it out to the different platforms is through Restream.io, and they are also recording it. So it's very weird. I didn't know that was a thing, but they're recording your stream so you can download it from them. So yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans going on with where your signal is going. I didn't even know it's actually a digital recording on their platform as well.
Have you read sorry, this is totally off topic. Have you read or listened to any of the Designers and Dragons?
Oh no, book? No, I haven't.
Yeah, those got recommended to me when I finished Game Wizards. So
Yeah.
I think they do different time periods and not just D&D centric.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking forward to those. I'm waiting for
Yeah.
my next Audible credit.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I think the only thing I've heard is that yeah, that they're complete. They're nice, like complete profiles of like different game designers and different companies.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's all I've heard. I haven't read anything, so I'm not sure how well they're written. Yeah, I wasn't. I like the era that Slaying the Dragon covered, but sometimes the writing I was like, yeah, he was trying to paint a picture that I didn't necessarily need. I didn't need the frosty Wisconsin morning, explained to me, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Conversely, though, because I was
Mhm.
actually on thread, I was talking about this
Oh,
thing.
yes, yes, yes. Uh,
Uh, the writer of Game Wizards
mhm.
was kind of dry.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think part of it is their sources. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
um, the Slaying the Dragon guy did a bunch of interviews, and a lot of his material
right.
seemed to be written from people just relating what they recalled.
Hmm.
So technically they're primary sources, but it's all recollection from a million years ago. So,
Right, right.
but the Game Wizards guy,
Hmm.
I want to know.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like finding him and messaging him. He had so many written primary sources,
Hmm.
like letters and financial statements and records, and I'm just like, how did you get all of this?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, which is amazing in of itself, but because they were trying to be more like about the historiography of it
Hmm.
or whatever, that it was drier. It just
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
drier.
Yeah, I think all of his books come out on MIT Press. So yeah, it's a little bit more. I think he sees himself as like an archivist or like
Hmm.
he's just collecting before it slips away. He's collecting all of this data. Yeah, if you've I don't there's no audiobook because it's a really big book. But his Playing at the World is kind of the whole evolution of tabletop role play, all the way from the Napoleonic clubs all the way through, like documenting every single convention, every single article in all of the magazine, the newsletters, and things that they were maintaining. So that's this really complete, like detailed picture or detailed account. But yeah, you're right. It's a dry account. It's almost like a history book. It doesn't. It's not some. So I think. Like his approach is more history text than
Yeah.
narrative. Yeah, yeah.
And it didn't help that he also, it's probably a production thing.
Mhm.
His reader, his narrator was
Ah,
not
yes.
as good as the Slaying the Dragon guys
Yeah. Yeah, I've
was.
noticed. Yeah, Audible's got a bit of a problem with that. There's a few like newer fantasy books that I've wanted to get the audiobook for so I could just listen to it on the train on and they've been hiring some voice actors that you can tell have only done like young adult fiction stuff before because the way that they like read the text of a fiction is just it's ridiculous. Like every characterization is super over the top, and it's just like a kids show. They're doing a
Mm.
voice for a kids show. So very often, Audible has those reviews where you can rate not only the book itself, the text, but also the performance of it. And there's a lot of text, so it's like 5 for the book. The story was great, the performance is horrible. Like the voice
Hmm.
actor is just
Yeah,
not a good choice.
yeah.
And I guess at the rate that they're producing that stuff, that maybe it's difficult to find the perfect match.
It was kind of funny too that guy, because most of his writing was very fact based and
Hmm.
dry. I
Hmm.
keep saying dry, but he would end each chapter with that weird little score
Yeah.
card thing,
Yeah. Right.
and that was like him making a joke.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
net
Yeah.
gross profit this, cost of whatever this,
Mm.
players eliminated, Dave Arneson won, and
Right.
and like
Right.
in my head, I just hear this like nerdy academic guy going,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I wonder if like that was like depicted visually in the book in a funny way or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. I really want to read that History of Games workshop that just came out. That looks good. Like Dice Men or something. I forget what they.
Is that on Audible?
I think it is. I think it might be. Um,
Ooh,
uh,
yeah.
Actually, I don't know because I'm getting confused. I looked at a ton of titles. That book though is it's more of one of those. It's in a little bit more of the direction of like a coffee table book. Maybe there's a lot of production design to it. Like there's a lot of photographs. The pages have photographs and like dice and little original pages. Notes and things represented. So it's maybe there's a little bit more visual element to it. So as an audiobook, it may lose a little bit. But yeah, I'd like to hear that history though, because that comes up. That came up in Game Wizards, and everything. I love that when
The whole Fiend Folio thing.
yes, yes, yeah, and when they launched the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, how they were like the reverse, were slaying the evil empire of TSR. So it's Britain making a comeback. I think it was
I
like an
could
Empire
totally
Strikes Back reference. Yeah.
I could totally see like a Games Workshop history being way more what do you call it? More graphic, like I could see like, and here's a picture of John Blanche and Ian Miller at a convention in Spain right after they took mushrooms. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could see it being a very different thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I think that there's some the personalities and stuff, and kind of how that evolved, because I think that was such an interesting turn for them to be okay. We're making games, we're making board games, like backgammon or whatever we're producing as a company, and then the kind of fantasy like D&D happened and fantasy miniatures happened, and then okay, we are supporting Dungeons and Dragons in our White Dwarf magazine, and then suddenly they're like, let's just do this ourselves, because and I think there was some detail about there was a kind of a business negotiation that went south between Games Workshop and TSR. And so that's when they just decided, let's do our own thing and let's do our own take on it, because we can have then our own flavor and inside jokes and everything that a lot of people don't understand. If they make any like political references or pop culture references in Dungeons and Dragons, sometimes that's probably lost on a British fan base.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm curious about that book as well. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're reading, because that might be a fun thing too on the channel, to just do a review and just do a book that we both read, kind of talking about tabletop history. That might be a fun review to go back and.
I've noticed I have a weird like neurological disorder where like I have to read fiction, like physically read fiction, in order to retain it. But nonfiction I can listen to an audiobook and it retains pretty well. And I don't know why. It's just
Interesting. Yeah,
the way
yeah,
my
yeah.
brain works.
Right, right. Huh, that's interesting. I feel similar to that, because I don't mind audiobooks for nonfiction. And I'm frustrated sometimes with the pace of how the readers on audiobooks read the fiction, or how some of the characterization or whatever. So I do prefer to read it, because it's a better, like the images are better and I enjoy the story more reading fiction. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. There's some neurological explanation, I'm sure. Nice. So yeah, Miguel said no Facebook warning. Yeah, it's weird, really weird. Oh, and also he had a comment. Revisions by the license holder is what killed. Oh, Alien versus Predator for Protoss. They had a miniatures game. 20th Century Fox were asinine according to the sources. Oh, that's right, because Protoss I think probably wanted to crowdfund things. So the holder, Fox, whoever the holder is of the Aliens license, maybe that's why they lost it, because they wanted to. And that off Warzone Resurrection, yeah, that's nice. Oh,
Did that one get removed? Because that didn't even show up in my chat.
oh no, is it really? Yeah, I'm looking at a combined chat on.
I had to release his comment about anime armor and boob plate.
Oh wow, yeah, no, I'm seeing it on the. Oh, it's interesting though. Yeah, so Miguel made a point, because we were talking about Pendragon and female knights, and Miguel says, "I'm not okay with female knights." That's the comment. Unless they wear the anime boob armor. There we go. A
Good job, Miguel.
a former maiden. Yeah, so that would be a fun question for Chris. Is like, is that female knights? Does that make sense? Do you want to play that in Pendragon, or is the original setting more compelling? Because that's going to be the that's going to be the argument, and we'll see. And of course, the criticism of the new version. Gloomhaven Monopoly, yeah. So basically, the Gloomhaven serial, the card game, and Monopoly. Yeah, you're not a real IP unless you've had your Monopoly version. Nice. So what are we talking about with paperwork here? So humanity has the need to keep
the game wizard stuff.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because a lot of that stuff does disappear, because even like Griff was talking about that, the stuff they discovered, like once you pushed hard enough and like asked somebody, well, do you have any old notebooks, anything we can take a look at? Like things just come to light. Like they uncovered the Tonisborg dungeon and things that would have been lost to history. So it's very funny, all this like paper. I think we're really gonna be at a loss with people that have been game designers and have done things digitally. They've done things in Google Docs or Microsoft, Office or whatever, and they're going to be totally screwed when all that stuff is just gone. Like, yeah, I did design the game, but I did it in Photoshop, and
yeah. That's what's funny. Like, neither of those authors, the Slaying the Dragon author or the Game Wizards author, neither one of them, there's one thing neither of them could accomplish, and that was getting on the record stuff from what's her name, Moraine.
Oh yeah. The kind of
the lady that took over TSR.
Yeah.
She wouldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah. That's right. That came up. But yeah, so everything in Slaying the Dragon was always people's like versions of her, like their opinions of her. It wasn't her, first person accounts. Oh yeah. Abyss brought that up as well. The Black Library Warhammer stuff is all over the place too. Yeah, because sometimes some of those audiobooks, especially the Horus Heresy stuff, the voice actors they get to do that 40K, some of that 40K stuff, especially Horus Heresy, are really good. But maybe some of their more like lesser releases and stuff, they get a little more amateur guys. Abyss is saying, you either have pro or a dude who smacks his mouth with no editing, reading it like a restaurant menu. Yeah. Or for audiobooks, the awful writers that use he said every other sentence. That's the thing I'm running into with the Mutant Chronicles. I have to, when I was reading it as a live stream, this was killing me because I would literally have to scan ahead. As I'm reading, I'm scanning ahead to see who is actually saying something, because they don't often enough. They'll just exchange two sides of dialogue, and sometimes they'll switch in a third party, and you have no idea. So who the hell is saying this? Because it's not a conversation between two people anymore. So I had to look for pronouns or look for names in the text below as I'm reading it. So I gave up that stress this time. Oh man. Yes. Yeah, he said, she said. Oh man.
The worst is suddenly, actually.
Oh yeah.
Never use the word suddenly in your fiction.
Right. Yeah. Abusing adverbs are very very, use them very sparingly. That's right. Suddenly he thought. Suddenly the door opened. That's brutal.
Hey, did you watch the Hellboy reboot movie, the David Harbour?
I did.
Hellboy?
Yeah.
Really, you did, huh? Okay. I didn't watch it because it got such bad reviews. It just scared me off. But I just watched like a 20-minute breakdown of it on YouTube the other day, which just made me super glad I didn't watch it.
Yes, it's not good.
By far my favorite part, though, is these ninja giants who just sort of appear out of nowhere and kill a guy when they're all standing around looking for giants.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then some good giants.
Yeah, that was probably the most memorable scene, because I think there's like horrible groin injuries to the giants. I think like Hellboy. Yeah, there's some like weird like slapstick violence that happens to the giant characters. But yeah, it was really like the tone was completely off. It was really strange. I don't know why that got made and why they thought, because it was kind of a. I'm trying to think it just he felt odd in the role, and especially after the kind of, say what you want about uh, the previous actor. I'm totally blanking on his name.
Oh,
The
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. Yeah, say what you want about Ron Perlman, but he's got presence, and he kind of like he definitely filled that role very well, and was kind of as it had a physical presence and everything, and it didn't quite work the same way. He seemed kind of like a grumpy teenager a lot of the time. It was an odd take on the character. Yeah.
Yeah, and the clips that they showed in the video I watched just looked like that movie was just full of really clumsy exposition, like info dump stuff. And it's like, oh man, I hate that. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things. I was curious about it, but there was nothing. Yeah, there's nothing worth recommending it. Yeah, that anyone see it. It's very strange, and I wonder why. I mean, because they had Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro, so it's like it's not going to get much better than that. Even if those movies aren't great, they have a tone to them and everything that I think is hard to not people just associate, because they made three, right? There's three, two or
two.
three, two of the original ones, right?
So part of the reason this happened, apparently, is that they were doing pre-work on the third one, and Mike Mignola and Guillermo del Toro had like a huge falling out.
Oh, interesting.
And
Yeah.
apparently, like in the first couple movies, they had become close friends, and like this just destroyed their friendship. Basically.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look into that, because I hadn't heard about that. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that like a personal thing will totally kill that franchise.
I think Guillermo del Toro's pretty delicate flower too, though.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
He's bailed on some projects in the past.
Yeah, maybe he's got to spend so much time dusting off all the pickled punks and weird collections in his his cabinet of curiosities.
Yeah, his wax statue of H.P. Lovecraft.
Right.
And, yeah.
He'd prefer to be doing that instead of taking grief from producers or executives. Yeah,
I
interesting.
do wish he would do in At the Mountains of Madness.
Oh yeah.
I think he would be the one to do it right, probably.
Yeah, he would be a good. It would be interesting to see his take on Cthulhu stories, because I don't think there really hasn't been a great version of much of anything on film. There's been attempts, or kind of like,
Not a lot.
tones. Yeah. So yeah.
That Nick Cage, did you see that one?
No.
The Color Out of Space one?
Oh, I did see that. Yes. Yeah.
It was a Nick Cage movie, so you enjoy it on a certain different level.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, they by updating it, I think it hurt it a little bit, because the isolation and the weirdness of something like that happening, and it just being horses were the only way to get anywhere, would have
it didn't really
made it a little more menacing. But I love that idea from that original story, and they did kind of like having color be like especially the color pink, be so intimidating, was kind of cool. Yeah,
it made a very alien feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The Netflix stuff, they have that horror anthology that Guillermo del Toro did. There's a couple of Lovecraft stories in there that they're not bad.
Oh wow,
I enjoyed
them. Yeah. I'll have to take
they did Pickman's Model. It was pretty good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think he would definitely be the one. Yeah, to do a feature film. But who knows? Who knows if they can ever make that happen?
Right.
Yeah. Nice.
That's some of the bullshit copyright stuff that's somehow, even though Lovecraft stuff is public domain, they still somehow have copyright to do a movie. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff now, like the Robert E. Howard estate, and like there's so many people that are like rights holders and licensors of Lovecraft, and it's like, wait, that stuff is more than 75 years old. What are we doing here? Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm sure, yeah, certain names have been trademarked, so you'd have to change the spelling of Conan if you wanted to use it. Yeah, this Conan with a K, totally different.
Did you ever see that? Do you read Pratchett? Do you like Terry Pratchett?
I haven't read much. I know, I know a bit about his work, but I haven't read a lot of the like Discworld and stuff. I don't know it very well.
So he has a character in the Discworld books called Conan the Barbarian,
Uh-huh.
who's basically Conan, but he's like 100 years old.
Uh-huh.
And because he's Conan, he can still kill things and win fights. But he's just grumpy old man
Uh-huh.
who
Uh-huh.
he wants to sit down and rest all the time and stuff. He's a hilarious character, but somebody, I'll send you the link.
Hmm.
Someone did they did a movie, a mini, like a short film
Oh.
of Conan the Barbarian,
Uh-huh.
and they did it with actually really nice CGI
Wow.
because it has like a troll in it,
Uh-huh.
and and it's really good and it's hilarious. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It's really good.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, what do you think about? Because I don't think it's ever going to happen. It's fallen apart a few times. But what do you think about a King Conan, like old Arnold version of like a later Conan tale? If they made that, if they did a film, if they did a feature film.
I wonder how I would watch it,
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder how you would do it well
Mm.
because is it still going to be following Conan? In which case, he's this old guy
Right, right.
who's a king. So, what are the opportunities he's going to get to be all Conan-y,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Hey, Cork. Um,
Oh, hey.
but I don't want them to do the Hollywood thing, which is, well, he's like the gateway for these new characters,
Right.
like
Yes,
he's
yes.
King Conan and he sends these four Gen Z people out to, no offense if any of you are Gen Z, but
Right,
he
right.
sends these four Gen Z adventurers out on an adventure, then he's at the end of the movie. I don't want to see
Hmm.
that either,
Yeah.
So I wonder how you would do it. I think it might be tough,
Hmm.
especially now.
Yeah, I
If
think
they had,
correct.
if
Yeah.
they had done it as like the third movie
Hmm.
when he was still quite a bit younger
Yeah, yeah.
than he is now, I think you could have followed him and he could have kicked some butt and been Conan still.
Right.
And you could still play up him getting older too. But now he's so old, I think it
Yeah.
would it would have to be. Although I guess they did it with Harrison Ford,
Yeah, that was the thing.
right? They
Yeah.
de-aged they de-aged him and crap.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I thought of it is because of the that fifth Indiana Jones movie, and I think it's like, especially like pulp heroes and things. It's like, why do you don't want to see them get old and incapable, because they should always be. They should just recast them and have younger people so that they're kind of in that younger actors, so they're in that world. But you're not trying to do that, like you were saying, a new generation. The old guy passes the torch. Like you don't want to
Mhm.
see, because I think unfortunately Disney or Lucasfilm thought Mangold's Logan was so good that they wanted to see a Logan take on Indiana Jones, and it doesn't work that way. That was such an interesting idea for Wolverine, for that Wolverine character, to see him in this like alternate, decrepit, weird, other universe kind of thing. But to see, a pulp action hero, like a 30s serial action hero be old, it was really bizarre because it didn't, yeah, they didn't like do anything with that character. He just kind of tagged along. And then
Mm.
by the end of the movie, just like in Blade Runner 2049, he's just kind of like sitting. He's like sitting in a chair somewhere with an injury,
Yeah, yeah.
just waiting for the movie to finish. Yeah, I don't know.
But it didn't bother me in Blade Runner. Like he still had Harrison Ford like gravitas
Yeah, oh yeah,
and
yeah.
and he was part of the story. You
Mm-hmm.
could So I don't know. It didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, it was just very similar though. How like the end of that movie, he's like handcuffed in a chair, and then like at the end of the Indiana Jones, he's just like sitting in a plane. He's just like sitting in places. It's like
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
make me do anything. But yet,
yeah.
but that's the thing that you realize too. Even in this latest Indiana Jones movie, is Harrison Ford's screen presence. Like he is a movie star, and most of the people acting around him are not. So it's really huge the
Mm.
difference between his screen presence and these other people that have done like TV shows or streaming series or whatever. They don't have any presence or any. The camera does not like them at all, and it's a huge difference when you just see how you see his experience and see his presence. That was really weird, and we know that's gone. That's going away. Like he's not going to be on film, you know, many more times.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Uh, Answer your question, Abyss. Somehow they do have film rights
Mm.
to original Lovecraft stories, and I don't know how they do. I blame lawyers because lawyers suck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they've kind of defeated that whatever that 75-year limit for copyright. I think they've kind of defeated that because like Mickey Mouse and a lot of that kind of stuff, has fallen under that, and it's not. No one's getting access to those characters.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I think that fifth in Indiana Jones was definitely Kathleen Kennedy's fault because who wanted to see Fleabag as the next Indiana Jones? That's insane. Yeah, that is insane.
I think Harrison Ford said that he's not doing more movies, didn't he?
I think so. I've heard. Yeah, I've read like mostly just headlines, but I've read kind of both. He's like, yeah, this is it. This is all for me. Oh, maybe I would do one more Indiana Jones. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. But the funny thing about these like 80-year-old Indiana Jones movies is, do you remember how they depicted old Indiana Jones on the TV series, that Young Indiana Jones Chronicles or whatever? He like had an eye patch and he was all covered with scars and he was all messed up. Like that
Very,
that
yeah.
yeah, that's the Indiana Jones we want to see. The completely
Mhm. That's the
damaged.
extension. Yeah, that's the extension of like the Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana
Yes,
Jones.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's how you would
yeah.
have ended up. Yeah,
Beat to shit. Yeah.
yeah, we'll never see that.
He's kind of, if you think about it, Indiana Jones is kind of got the same Conan mojo. Like he goes through all kinds of crap and still comes out.
Hmm.
He just wears it a lot more than
Yeah,
Conan
right,
does.
right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's completely he's completely messed up by the end. Yeah, a lot more scarred and punished. Yeah. Oh yeah, Miguel was talking about there was that. Did you see that some sort of public event where there was I guess there was a maybe premiere or something for Indiana Jones. So Spielberg was thanking everyone that participated in the creation of the character in those movies. So he thanked Lucas, and uh, then when it went to the person, the glue that holds everything together, that's made all these movies possible, that's been here since the beginning, and there's in the video you can see kind of Kathleen Kennedy like looking over at her husband. I think it's going to be me, and then he says John Williams, and yeah, so thank you, John Williams, and it's like, oh yeah, I still love. People are digging up all of the things Spielberg has said about Kathleen Kennedy. That she was basically a secretary that couldn't take notes. Like early days, Kathleen Kennedy, she was like completely incapable, but she couldn't shut her mouth. Like they'd be in a meeting and it would be like Spielberg and Lucas, and she's supposed to be taking notes, and she's like, what if we did this? What if we did that? So he like pointed out the fact that she couldn't shut up and would talk over creative people to throw in her recommendations, and the fact that she's heading Disney film production is insane.
But
Disney, yeah, Lucasfilm.
that's a classic problem with Hollywood, right? With especially big budget Hollywood is um, you always have these executives who think they know better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like that's what else ruins movies faster than when they get all the notes from the executives who think they know better, even though they're not.
Yeah, yeah.
they're not directors or actors or writers.
Right.
They're business people.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know.
and I think it used to be before, entertainment was more homogenized. You did have to have that kind of tastemaker or that person that said our studio does these kind of pictures, so we're not doing that, or that kind of like was a filter and made decisions and kind of limited the creativity so that the writers and directors had to work within these creative limits. Now it's just these, designed by committee, and everyone gets to throw something in there and tear it apart, and it becomes very, kind of anodyne and very uninteresting because so many people have said, well, do you think he would wear those shoes? I don't believe that he would have those shoes.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how and it's sad that even like Disney animation and stuff is getting that treatment. It's becoming very uninteresting and not like very unique people's takes or vision anymore. You can tell somebody had an idea and then they just kind of wore it down to this like useless little uninteresting nub, and then that was what they produced as a film.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, totally denied recognition. Uh, yeah, it's so crazy that she is in control of all of that. Uh,
Oh, and I guess that Acolyte soft cancel was a rumor, and it's actually been filmed.
oh no, yeah,
Yeah, so that's actually going to be a thing.
wow.
We'll see what's going on with
Well,
that.
yeah, if it's anywhere as uninteresting as Secret Invasion, I couldn't even get through the first episode of that. I was just like, this is terrible. And so now I'm just watching people who have watched it on YouTube because I can't
Uh,
I can't waste my time, sitting in front, because it's so funny to take those characters in that setting, especially when like the Winter Soldier, like the Captain America Winter Soldier thing that the brothers did so well, the Russo brothers did
mm,
so well, and take those same characters in that same setting and just like totally fumble it with a really boring like spy thriller that there's no spies, it's not thrilling, there's just some green guys occasionally. Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't even watch Marvel movies anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, even it'd be hard to. Yeah.
There's a couple of the TV series that they might get me to come back and check out.
Hmm.
Like the next Loki season, I'll
Ah,
probably
right, right,
check out because the writing's pretty good, the dialogue's good. Um, well, if they stay with what they did,
right, right, right.
Um, but as far as the films, like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
no thanks.
Yeah, yeah, they don't have anything, and it seems like anything that people would be interested in, they just pushed a year or so ahead. That they've like totally reworked their Marvel schedule. It's like we're doing too much, and people aren't they're these aren't having impact, so they're spreading them out, and now there's nothing coming out for like a year and a half that anybody wants to see.
Hmm.
That's really brutal.
And is it they do it in like they call it phases, right? So
Right, right.
is it all going to be heading to one big Avengers movie again? Is that
I think they
are
were,
they
yeah.
doing?
I think they're talking about that Avengers, whatever, 4 or 5 or whatever it is. Yeah, to do the Kang, the Kang storyline. But now that they've had the controversy with that actor, and we
Hmm.
don't know what his status with Disney is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. It's funny because they have that one hanging.
Hmm.
And then the DC, who is supposed to be rebooting everything, and James Gunn, blah blah blah.
Right.
Now they have the guy, the Flash guy. They've got that hanging, and
Right.
it's funny. Like both of the franchises are like, oh shit.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's scary that they're just gonna try to go after maybe the safest actors possible, so we're gonna have the most boring films.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny.
but I think that ruins their TV series too. The whole thing of everything dovetailing together and feeding into one big climactic ending to a phase or
Hmm.
whatever,
Hmm.
it kind of ruins the freedom of their TV series because,
Yeah.
like, I think of what's up, WandaVision, right?
Hmm.
I think the first two thirds of WandaVision were really cool and
Hmm.
unique and different for a Marvel thing.
Hmm.
But then they brought in all that bullshit at the end
Yeah, yeah.
with Shield and what's her name, Agnes, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it feeds into the whole multiverse thing, and it's
Right,
like,
right.
man, this could have been way more interesting if they had just let it be its own thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if that's gonna happen, or if they just, because that worked for them, they're gonna everything has to link. That's, yeah, makes it very, very uninteresting, because if they don't have a good climax, or they're not have a good supervillain waiting at the end of this, yeah, it's not. I think
That
that's,
is
yeah.
that is the mainstream Marvel comic book model, though.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
I mean, used to be anyway. I don't collect comics anymore, but back in the day,
Hmm.
everything they tried to get everything to connect so that you would buy all their
Yes.
different lines,
Right, right.
and then they once they discovered the Secret Wars, everything fed into Secret Wars 1 and then Secret Wars 2, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so really what Disney slash Marvel are doing is not very different than what the actual comic books do,
Hmm. Hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, the funny thing is, you remember those series when they would jump between the storylines, when they would jump between series, you'd need a little checklist. Okay, you need Silver
Hmm.
Surfer 45, and you need
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men, and you'd have to sort all that out. And basically, once they got enough of these movies made, people were like, how do I watch these movies?
Oh
Which one?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what order do you even watch these movies in?
Yeah.
So they literally made a checklist of, here's the
Mm.
order of, and it's not necessarily how the chronology of how they were released. Some of them kind of, before
Yeah.
and
Oh
after.
yeah.
So you literally need a checklist to watch Marvel movies. That's so silly. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife had expressed some interest in watching the Marvel movies because she was never into it,
Hmm.
and it was, yeah. I was like, go on the internet. Someone has probably made a list
Right, right, right.
if you want to do this in order,
Hmm. Hmm.
But really just watch Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
and then watch, like, what, Winter Soldier is pretty good,
Yeah.
and
Right. Right.
there's a whole bunch that I would not recommend. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's some that are just not, you can't rewatch them. It's just like, if you saw them once and oh yeah, I remember that scene, then that helps the continuity. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's not, that's not good. I don't want to watch Ant-Man 2 again if I have to. Ugh. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Oh yeah, yeah. That's talking about, so current Disney would, so Miguel was saying, it would make a porn movie with unerotic with their blandness. Nice. Uh, Yeah, that's funny too. The doing these long arcs of or these long series of movies, the actors do age, and depending on when you catch them, they like can noticeably age, maybe in not great directions. Yeah, because already
mhm.
the Elizabeth Olsen is much older than she was playing Wanda, because she almost seemed very young when they first introduced that character, and now she's they can't rewind the clock at all on her if they're going to use the same actress. So there's a lot of actors that I think are like that. They've aged out of those roles a bit if they're going to continue any of the continuity. Hey, dude, how's it going? Dude's from the Abuse Cartoons stream.
Stop.
So yeah, I mentioned the audiobook reading in the cartoon stream this week. So good to see you. Nice. Yeah, yeah. Cork was saying. Yeah, Cork said. Yeah, I hope the rumors of the implosion of Disney are true. Yeah, how can they lose so much money and still keep going? I still don't understand how they survived the pandemic with having those parks closed and losing like millions of dollars a day with those parks closed and no guests. So who knows? They're all a maybe Disney is just a CIA asset that they can't let fail. there's too much intelligence gathering that goes on at Disney parks.
I was joking darkly about that the other day with
Uh-huh.
somebody. Yeah, I think you have to be in a certain age group. Like you and me, I think are in the right age group. But
Hmm.
like, you remember when the CIA had teeth when they would do shit, and like,
Right.
doesn't it feel like the CIA is like pretty, like, incompetent and helpless these days.
Yes, yeah, it does.
I mean, yes, they're evil and they've done horrible things, but now it doesn't feel like they do anything.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty funny. The yeah, the difference. Oh, that was something I mentioned that Justified series before. I didn't realize in just the first couple episodes, and this is probably from the book that it was based on, but how much they talked about, the neo-Nazi kind of white domestic white terrorists and stuff in the beginning of that series. It's like, yeah, that was done a long time ago, and now it's like still very current, where that's and having feds infiltrate these groups, and yeah, it's like, yeah, that's still a thing.
And they did a great job of showing how stupid their like core members were. Like,
Yeah.
it was what's his name? The character who's his arch nemesis. I can't remember his name. The actor has a really funny name too.
Oh yeah.
He's anyway, like he took over the clan of neo-Nazi guys just to do crime. He didn't really believe any of the shit he was telling them.
Right.
But they were stupid and would, be his triggermen, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, Boyd Crowder. That's right. Yeah.
Boyd Crowder. Yeah.
He's
going to be a ghoul in that Fallout show.
Oh, really? Oh, that should be cool. Wow.
Walter Goggins.
Yeah,
right?
Walter Goggins. Yeah. Walton Goggins. Name. Yeah, and they did they're doing a Justified movie. That's the reason I got interested in watching the series again. Is they're doing like a later, like an older Raylan in Detroit, I think, right? It's like set in Detroit. Yeah, so a totally different setting.
I don't know if it's a little slower tempo, but if you like Justified, the Longmire series is good too.
Oh, cool.
And it's got Katie Sackhoff in it. So
oh, there you go.
2%.
Oh, 2%. You're right. You're a proud 2%er.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm curious about that movie. All right.
Because now I'm done with the Session Zero book, I'm going to start thinking about this Weird West.
Oh, nice.
Thing. So I got to start consuming a lot more Westerns.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Yeah, I want to draw some weird cowboys. That would be fun. Yeah. That'd be really fun. Very cool. All right. Well, thanks, Matt. This was great. I'm glad we got a chance to get together and do this. And thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. Uh-oh. Abyss has already got dudes scared. Spy agency is doing their job if they don't seem to be doing anything. No, that's right. Yeah. Abyss called it. Yeah. It's like we now believe the CIA is toothless, and that's exactly what they want us to believe.
Yeah, but Jeremy are Gen X. We remember when the CIA would just kill people.
Right. Or fail to kill Cuban dictators. Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, if you go that far back, yes. Incompetent.
Right. Nice. All right.
Like this whole thing in Russia with Prigozhin and everything. I feel like old school CIA would have been all over that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I wonder if they just have, I don't know, too many corporate interests or whatever to actually do what needs to be done. It's like, no, we can't. You can't step on the toes of big pharma if you're gonna. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Capitalism's literally holding them back somehow.
Right.
Figures. Capitalism ruins everything.
Oh my God. Great. All right. Nice. Well, good to see everyone, and we'll do this again next week. So thanks for joining us, and see you then.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.